Welcome to the Natural Remedies Seminar. In our Natural Remedies Seminar, we're going to be looking at poultices and compresses. And the first one I'm going to look at is the humble onion. Now, the onion can be used cooked or it can be used raw. To use it cooked, we'll look at cooked first, and this is the first poultice that I ever did. My first daughter, I was 23 when she was born, so I think I was probably about 25 when she got an earache. And I was trained as a nurse. Even though I was a bit of a hippie and starting to grow my own veggies and all that sort of stuff, I didn't know what to do about an earache. And everyone said to me, don't play with the ears, she could go deaf. So it was really out of fear and lack of knowledge, I went to the doctor. He wrote her a script of antibiotics. I gave her the antibiotics, I didn't know what else to do. Within 24 hours, the earache had eased. When she'd finished the antibiotics, the earache came back. I did not know what to do. 6 weeks later and 4 courses of antibiotics later, the earache comes back. But I still don't know what to do. So when I went to the doctor, I said, will my daughter be on antibiotics for the rest of her life? Which I'm beginning to come to this conclusion. He was challenged by my question. So he sent me to an ear, nose and throat specialist who looked in Emma's mouth, then her ears, and he said, she's teething. Give her these drops to keep the eustachian tubes clear. And that was it. So let's fast forward 2 years later. Next child is 18 months and gets an earache. I do not go to the doctor and I don't tell anyone. I have to do something though. So I went to the lady that lives next door. So I was, 26 or 27 by now. She's 85. I said, what did your mother do when you were a little girl and you had an earache? She said, Mum would steam up an onion on the stove. So I went home, I steamed the onion up on the stove, and then I cut it in half under her directions, so that what you're looking at is the rings. So you keep the skin on and it keeps everything in place. And I wrapped the onion up in a cloth, a few layers, and the few layers of cloth will help to keep it warm, but also just to shield the direct heat from being too hot. I tested it on my arm and I put it on his ear. I covered it with a piece of plastic, and what that does is that just insulates it. And then he was just a little boy, I was breastfeeding him, and I could put the onion between his ear and my arm, and I could feel the heat. And when he slept, I laid him down on the bed, but I laid him down on a towel that had been folded up about 8 times because I knew that that would keep it warm. You can keep it on for as long as you can keep it warm. What did they do before plastic? They used a wool square. So you can certainly use a wool square. I make a lot of my own clothes, and in the winter I make a lot of woolly skirts. So I have squares, and you can also put a woolen square just this side of the plastic so that the plastic doesn't even touch you, but it is stopping the moisture going through and insulating it and keeping it warm. James slept for 2 hours. When he woke up, he was happy. I watched him all day and the next day and the next day. That was it. Just compare my experience. 2 hours sleep with onion on his ear, and then my last experience with my first daughter, 6 weeks and 4 courses of antibiotics. No wonder I went into natural remedies. I was excited at the prospect. Onion compress. I have since learned that you can steam it and squeeze it. And if you squeeze it, you'll get a few drops of juice out. This is when it's hot, and it'll be boiling hot, but when the hot juice hits the spoon, it'll go a nice temperature, and you can put that in the ear. Onion plays a vital role in curing many types of diseases in a natural way. Now, the onion can be used cooked or it can be used raw. Warm cooked onions are applied as a poultice to heal earache. The heat and compounds in the onions help increase blood flow and reduce pain. As discussed for earaches, you can steam it and squeeze it to get a few drops of onion juice out, and you can put that in the ear which is aching. Onion juice is occasionally used as a natural ear drop to combat ear infections. This natural remedy is very helpful. Soon you will feel relief, and gradually your earache will also subside. The quercetin in onions is a potent antioxidant with anti-inflammatory properties.
People with arthritis or other inflammatory conditions must consume onions regularly or apply onion poultices to the affected areas, which helps reduce inflammation and pain.
The other place that you can use a cooked onion is for a boil. A lady told me about this. She had a boil on her back and she told her friend, and she said, we need to cook up an onion. See, an onion is a drawer. And she put the onion straight onto the boil. Obviously she waited till it wasn't going to burn, but it was still quite hot. And then she put that plastic square over again. If you don't want plastic on the skin, and I can understand that, you can put a wool there because wool will insulate. And then she taped it on. And she left it there for 24 hours. And when she took it off, everything came out. She said she's never had a boil resolve so quickly. So what the heat does, it draws it to a head, and the onion's drawing it to a head, and then it all comes out. She was very impressed. So the cooked onion can be used on an earache, and the cooked onion can be used for a boil. Once you've used the onion, you must discard it because it does draw poisons into it, so it needs to be thrown out.
The other place that you can use a cooked onion is for a boil. Onions have a drawing effect which helps draw out the infection. It helps soften the boil, encouraging it to come to a head faster. The heat can soothe pain and discomfort. Antibacterial properties in onion help prevent the infection from spreading. Onions contain compounds like allicin and quercetin that have antibacterial and anti-inflammatory properties. When applied to a boil, these compounds may help fight the infection causing the boil and reduce inflammation. The warmth of the cooked onion can also increase blood flow to the area, potentially speeding up the healing process. Onions also contain sulfur compounds that have antimicrobial properties. These help fight the bacterial infection causing the boil.
Now we're going to look at the raw onion. There's a couple of places you can use the raw onion, and one is for a sore throat. Now if you want to tell a friend about this because maybe they've got a sore throat, they can go to YouTube and Google Barbara O'Neill, and there is a onion natural remedies lecture there, poultices. So for the sore throat, you finely slice the onion into a few slices, and what we do is if the sheets get old, you just tear up the sheets, and then you put this sliced onion on the cloth, and you fold the cloth over and then fold it back over, and then that will go around the throat like that, and then you can wrap a scarf around it, nice woolly scarf, and you can go to sleep with that, and it'll bring relief to the sore throat. I think we all know that when you cut up an onion, you're likely to cry, is that right? So that's a clear indication that that onion juice is very good at breaking up mucus on the chest, in the throat, in the head.
Onions are really helpful in soothing sore throats. The sulfur compounds and quercetin in raw onions work together to reduce inflammation, fight infection, and provide a protective coating for the throat. Onions contain allicin and other sulfur compounds that help fight bacteria and viruses causing sore throat. The quercetin in onions helps reduce inflammation in the throat. Onions also help in thinning mucus, making it easier to expel and potentially soothing the throat.
And what I'm going to do now might surprise you. I'm going to put the onion on the bottom of the feet. So why do we put the onion on the bottom of the feet? We put the onion on the bottom of the feet because the bottom of the feet, or the feet I should say, are a reflex for the chest. And we're going to put the onion on the bottom of the feet for if someone has a bad cough in the night. You can certainly use a cloth. So you might use a cloth, put the onion like that, and put it in the bag, and then what you do is you put your foot on the onion like that, and then you twist it around and put a sock on. So the bottom of the feet is touching the onion, and then you put a sock on and it holds it in place. Now my grandson, he was 3 at the time, I was visiting my daughter and he had a bad cough. And she gave him a hot bath, which always eases the cough, and put him to bed, and he was coughing and coughing and coughing and coughing. And we thought he'll be asleep in a minute, but he kept coughing and coughing. So after half an hour I said to Em, let's do the onion. So we got him up, we chopped up an onion and put half the onion chopped up on one foot and half on the other foot and put him to bed. Not one more cough. It's almost unbelievable. You almost have to do it to believe how incredible it is. Not one more cough for the whole night with the onion on the bottom of his feet. So that's great for a night cough.
Raw onions contain compounds like quercetin and allicin that have antimicrobial and anti-inflammatory properties. Make an onion tea by steeping chopped raw onions in hot water, which will help reduce congestion and fight off infections. If you feel congestion in your lungs, place a sliced onion by your bedside. The vapors from the sliced onion will help clear airways.
Now I'm going to show you how to make an onion cough mixture. And the onion cough mixture is a very simple thing to do. You chop up the onion and then you layer it in a jar with honey. So we're going to chop it up small. Of course, the smaller the better, because the larger surface area you'll have. So I've got a jar here. So I'm going to put about ½ an inch in the jar, and then you drizzle honey. Probably about a teaspoon. And then another layer of onion, again ½ an inch, and then another drizzle. Oops, that was a bit heavy-handed, doesn't matter. Then another layer of onion and another drizzle of honey and a final layer of onion. So if you had a house full of people that had a bad cold or a bad cough, you might chop up another onion and fill your jar. And then we finish with more onion. I'm doing this early in our demonstration because by the end of the night the syrup will have formed. You see, if I put the jar on the side, all you see is that thick gooey honey and onion. By the end of our demo you will see a clear runny fluid forming, and that's the cough syrup. After 24 hours you strain the onion out and you're left with your cough syrup, and you keep it in the fridge. How long can you keep it for? Well, a German lady told me that she'd had hers in the fridge for 8 years. Because honey doesn't go off, does it? So once you take the onion out, it will keep indefinitely. So for a little child, maybe under one, you might do 1/4 teaspoon. For a 2-year-old, you might do ½ a teaspoon, say 3 times a day. For a child from about 10 above, you might do a teaspoon 3 times a day. So if a child's got a cold or a cough or a bronchitis, any respiratory asthma, so you give them the teaspoon 3 times a day and put them to bed with the onion on the bottom of their feet, and everyone will sleep soundly that night.
A popular home remedy involves mixing raw onion with honey. This combination works due to the onion's anti-inflammatory properties and honey's soothing effect on the throat. Take a spoonful of this mixture a few times a day to alleviate coughing. Onions are used in making homemade cough syrups and remedies for respiratory issues. The sulfur compounds in onions help break up mucus and reduce inflammation in the airways. A common remedy is onion tea, made by simmering chopped onions in water and sometimes adding honey.
So that's the raw onion.
Other health benefits of onion apart from the above is hair growth. Applying onion juice to the scalp promotes hair growth. The sulfur in onions helps improve blood circulation to hair follicles and regenerate hair follicles. Studies have shown promising results. Digestive aid. The prebiotic fibers in cooked onions promote gut health by feeding beneficial bacteria. Use cooked onion preparations to soothe upset stomachs or relieve gas and bloating, insect bites and stings. Applying raw onion to the affected area helps reduce itching and swelling. Acne treatment. The antibacterial properties of onions help fight acne when applied topically. Wound healing. Raw onion juice is used to promote wound healing due to its antimicrobial properties. Skincare. The antimicrobial properties of onions also make them useful for minor skin issues. You can apply cooled cooked onion to minor cuts, scrapes or insect bites to promote healing and reduce inflammation. Immune support. The vitamin C and antioxidants in onions help strengthen the immune system. Onions also contain quercetin, a flavonoid with antioxidant properties that help boost immune function. Consuming cooked onions regularly contributes to overall immune health. Cardiovascular health. The sulfur compounds and flavonoids in onions help improve heart health by reducing inflammation, lowering blood pressure, and improving cholesterol levels. Regular consumption of cooked raw onions as part of a balanced diet contributes to cardiovascular health. Blood sugar regulation. Compounds in onions also help regulate blood sugar levels, potentially benefiting people with or at risk of diabetes. It's important to note that while these home remedies have traditional use, the effectiveness of these remedies can vary from person to person. Thanks for watching. Have a nice day.